Impact West Virginia, addressing maternal health outcomes in Appalachia, exploring patient navigator roles. The presenters for today's session are Dr. Leslie Cottrell, a developmental psychologist and professor of pediatrics at West Virginia University. Dr. Cottrell is also the director of the Center for Excellence in Disabilities and principal investigator for Impact. I am Sue Workman, the program manager for Impact, and also are housed at the Center for Excellence in Disabilities. Dr. Cottrell and I do not have any disclosures to make for this presentation. Our learning objectives for today will be to discuss the patient navigator model, explore participant perceptions of patient navigator supports based on types and dose of services received over time, compare baseline and follow-up depression screen results in relation to services received from a patient navigator, and examine potential effects of navigation and coordinated care on key maternal outcomes. Let's watch a short video talking about what is Impact West Virginia.
What is Impact West Virginia? The Impact West Virginia project is working with communities to create opportunities and address needs of children diagnosed with neonatal abstinence syndrome, or NAS, or exposed to substances in utero. The program's goal is to improve the health and well-being of children diagnosed with NAS, women who were or are using substances, and their families who receive services through two-generational assistance. Let's dive into the online hearing. Impact West Virginia online hearing. Impact West Virginia developed an online clearinghouse for training and resources for families in July. Users will learn about best practices and strategies to work together to build family support so children grow up healthy, strong, and ready to live. Western courses include adverse childhood experiences, behavioral management, child development, education and employment, family strengthening, mental health, neonatal abstinence syndrome, social and parent support, social services, substance use, and stigma. The site also includes news features, blogs, resource maps, and questions from families and providers. Visitors to the site can subscribe, ask a question, request technical assistance, or make a report. The Impact West Virginia Education and Employment Service Specialist helps to reach school or work goals, provides individualized programs based on needs and goals, and offers an in-person or remote support on finances, identifying career skills, education options, and connections to additional services. To be eligible for Impact West Virginia, you must be all three of the following. Here are the three Impact benefits. These sites use a patient navigator to coordinate services. The West Virginia Impact Project Navigator will be responsible for coordinating the care of multi-generational families impacted by substance use and illness. Services will focus on meeting where the client is. You can find out more about West Virginia Impact by visiting our website, our Facebook, or sending us an email. What is
Let's look at depression as a background of how it affects mothers after they have delivered their babies. Approximately 1 in 8 women report symptoms of depression after giving birth. 1 in 5 are not asked about depression during postpartum checkups, and therefore 50% are not treated. In West Virginia, 13% of women have symptoms of depression after delivery. The link on the page will take you to West Virginia Impact Communities of Practice archives that will share PowerPoints and summary sheets related to postpartum depression. Impact West Virginia, as mentioned previously, uses the patient navigator model. This patient navigator model was established in 1990 by Dr. Harold Freeman. The principal function of the navigator model was to eliminate barriers to timely screening, diagnosis, treatment, and supportive care, and was originally used with cancer patients. Impact Patient Navigators cover 9 counties of West Virginia. The settings for these navigators are in a home visiting organization, an advocacy setting, and a birthing hospital. The Patient Navigator's plan is to identify social service needs of families with infants exposed to substance use in utero, and therefore coordinate services to meet these needs post-delivery. Impact also works to address health equity of mothers and infants exposed to substance use in utero. The Patient Navigator model, supporting inclusion and belonging regardless of income or education. We also work to address the stigma of substance use in mothers through trainings and online learning modules that can be found using the link Impact West Virginia Online Learning Courses. A Patient Navigator family survey was distributed to the participants. There were 15 satisfaction questions regarding the Patient Navigator model implemented by Impact. A Likert scale ranging from strongly agree to strongly disagree gathered information. Overall, respondents noted either that they somewhat agreed or strongly agreed they would recommend the Patient Navigator services to others, and were also satisfied with their experience. 42.9% of respondents somewhat agreed that information given to them through the program was helpful.
Thanks, Sue. So for the next slide, we're going to be reviewing some of the findings that we had from our study over the last 4 years. In total, we have enrolled 170 families across the sites. That included 1 father, 127 mothers, 8 grandparents, and 30 foster parents. In terms of their characteristics, we wanted to highlight a few. A little less than 3% were homeless or potentially homeless based on their shelter situation. A little less than 15% had threats of utilities being shut off. A little more, 25%, a little less than that, lacked reliable transportation. And then 41.8% on the positive side of mothers who were enrolled had stopped using substances at that time. When you take a look at some of the maternal outcomes that we wanted to focus on in this presentation, we wanted to highlight 3 particularly. These aren't all of the outcomes that we had assessed, but we wanted to look at substance use, and that was measured by the SBIRT, interpersonal violence, and that's measured by the RAT, and then maternal depression, which was measured by the Edinburgh. Now, these were measured across multiple time assessments. The frequency varied, as noted a little earlier, but usually it was about every 6 months or annually, again, depending on what the measure was. What you see here in this table are means and standard deviations of those measures, and this is across sites within the Impact West Virginia network. So at enrollment, at that time assessment, we had a mean SBIRT of 3.1, and then the most recent for any participant, again, across sites, was a 1.7. That was a significant decrease at 0.05 level. And that's great in terms of overtime while mothers or caregivers for that matter. And you noted we had fathers, foster care, and grandparents also taking these measures. So across all of the types of caregivers and across the sites, we had a decrease in substance use noted over the time they were enrolled. Similarly, interpersonal violence reports decreased. Again, that was a significant decrease from enrollment to the most recent assessment. And then lastly, maternal depression seemed to significantly decrease while caregivers were enrolled in the program for Impact. So considering those findings and taking a look at a potential model, why we are seeing it, what we are seeing it, and using that to justify Impact, its services, and its structure, wanted to show this. Let's go through this from left to right. So impact, as noted before, is developed on a 2-generational need circumstance for caregiver and for child. The patient navigator tends to be that person, that conduit, the glue, if you will, that brings it all together, that may not be providing those direct services, but it's definitely doing the connection based on the needs that he or she hears from the caregiver and the assessments obtained connects to the appropriate services. And in rural settings, it's really important. You might not have a provider identified. And so the navigator really seeks those resources around the region to find those particular providers. So you have the tailored connection to services based on our outcomes decreasing or improving over time over the course of the program. And that could vary. Someone might have been in for 6 months, some might have been in there for a year. But more their most recent, we noted that if their needs were met, their mental health by means of the Edinburgh had improved, decreased interpersonal violence. They also modeling medical management. The patient navigator works with the caregiver, models that connectivity, that navigational skill, so that the caregiver can eventually take that on and be able to work independently in the future. That too contributes to those outcomes, including decreased substance use. And that similarly, services focused on caregiver and child, that 2-generational, the fact that we're not only looking at the child's needs, but whether the caregiver needs education or employment. Those social determinant factors that are very important, and we know that to be true, are linked to this underserved at-risk population, not only because of the substance use, but because, as we noted in the earlier slides, they tend to have the utilities being cut off, the housing issue, these basic needs not being met or not consistently being met. And so to have that focus, and the parent, we see potential, we're proposing self-awareness increasing as well as competency, and that larger needs are being met for the family unit, which then also goes on to help some of these outcomes that we see and we present today. So here are just a few quotes from participants, from stakeholders who have been involved in impact. Some highlights here. Designated care coordinator on the side, on the left side here, from the DCC, from the home visitor, in providing best support for the families that I serve. I'm so thankful for the program and how it is not only a benefit to our families, but to me as a DCC as well. So providers are saying that the support provided by Impact, is pretty significant to them, or at least in this case, for sure. When I feel like I don't know what else to do for these clients, I'm able to reach out. That patient navigator, again, can serve as that conduit and provide that connection. In the blue bubble, we see the Impact Grant has been a wonderful support and asset to me as a home visitor, again, another home visiting representative. The patient navigator is very personable, always willing to assist. This team approach, again, not duplicating services, adding to the icing on the cake, is something that this person has highlighted. I'm very excited to continue working with Impact to see changes it will make in my clients' lives. And then lastly, what's in the white box? West Virginia Impact helped me stand proud as a mother by offering the best support and guidance through various situations and helped me get through them. When I needed a shoulder, the team was there to care. You have to be honest with yourself, and birthing a baby with drugs in its system was humiliating and scary for the consequences that were to come. I was helped and supported. They show you the truth, give you the light, and help you be bright. And that's from one of the mothers who was enrolled. So we're very proud of these quotes. They reflect our what we intended as the service and the program and its impact. Lastly, if you want to hear more, we have more to share. So connect with Impact. There's a lot on this slide, and this will be shared, of course. We have some valuable websites. So the learning portal, that's again learning modules for families, for providers, for the general public. That's the link at the beginning. Facebook constantly has shared stories of similar related to substance use, NAS, rural health, service development, things of that sort. If you want to make a referral to Impact and to our demonstration sites who have additional expertise in their respective areas, that's the third link. And then for any general questions, that's the final link. Lastly, we added QR codes on the right-hand side. So we do have a family survey. For any families, we want to hear what you don't see normally and you'd like to see, what you don't know, what information you'd like to obtain. You can fill out that survey. We'd really appreciate it. We're going to continue to make modules that are widely available. Similarly, we have a survey for providers. As a provider, and again, a wide variety of providers, if you too find yourself that you're in these situations and you're pulling strings, you'd really like some key fact sheets, a more in-depth training module, please fill out that QR code and survey from your perspective. We'd love to hear it, and we're going to continue to do that. And as always, we like to share that this Impact program is supported by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. It's a 5-year rural health technical assistance program, and as a partner of that larger network, we intend to sustain much of these services for the rural health area. Thank you. And so at this point, we'll ask for any questions and post some additional information. Thank you.